Alrighty then, let's get started. Today on First Pass we'll be continuing our discussion of a three-way versus battle between the IAV Crete from Firefly/Serenity, the MCRN Donnager from the TV show The Expanse, and the BS-75 Galactica from, yep, you guessed it, Battlestar Galactica. Some commenters from the previous video mentioned that my suggestion that the torpedoes would be used as a primary weapon against fighters was overkill, which is true to a degree. To that end, I'd like to clarify that they would in fact be used only against fighters should they get too close, and using warheads with a wide blast radius like a nuclear-tipped torpedo. Otherwise, the torpedoes would be used almost exclusively to damage the enemy capital ships before getting into range. Railguns would fall into this category as well, as they would be gross overkill against a single fighter. With that out of the way, in this episode, we're doing an in-depth look at another contender in our Battle Royale. This next ship was officially seen in one movie, in one scene, so additional imagery was provided by now defunct mod creator, of whom which I don't know the name of thanks to the internet being the internet. Thank you, and without further ado, next up is the Crete-class carrier deployed by the Union of Allied Planets, or the Alliance for short, to patrol their rim territories. Being brought into the world of Firefly in its sequel movie Serenity, the Crete is classified as a carrier, and as such has a primary function is as a dedicated carrier to carry and repair over 1,200 fighters and light warships, and a secondary role as a troop transport, able to bring 75,000 soldiers to any world, along with all accompanying vessels and equipment. To hold that much military hardware, the ship weighs in an utterly massive 10 million tons and about 850 meters. Being a carrier, the only weapons equipped on the vessel are defensive in nature, with 200 autocannons firing 2-pound shells from sizable magazines of 2,000 rounds per emplacement. With a range of up to 26 kilometers, these weapons provide a comprehensive anti-fighter defensive layer. Though good against fighters, it is highly doubtful that the autocannons will be useful against inbound ordnance, as the Alliance favors heavy armoring over true active defenses. As the vessel opts for a heavy armored approach, about 20% of the carrier's mass is dedicated to the aforementioned armor plating, or about 2 million tons of armor. This level is similar to that of World War II battleships, meaning that it can take a considerable amount of punishment and keep on fighting, as seen in the Universe battle. The design overall does have a few flaws with it though, such as what appears to be a pair of bridges or possibly sensor arrays. Either way, you don't leave sensitive components defenseless and out in the open as an easy target. Alliance warships aren't designed to be compartmentalized well, meaning a major breach can jeopardize the whole ship. Thankfully, all ships are typically equipped with escape pods. Having no appreciable active defenses, nor shipboard E-War, its only exception is from its fighter wing in the form of fighter-launched EMP bombs or magnetic depth charges. These are quite useful against smart or guided munitions such as missiles, though they do have a limited range and are only deployed on as-rev fighter gunships. Overall target systems seem rather short-ranged, less than 20,000 kilometers for an active lock, instead usually relying on mandatory transponders to track vessels. Both targeting and communications are instantaneous, allowing for advanced command and control over any distance. This gives them an edge when it comes to coordinating strikes and power projection. All the carried ships and fighters along with the Crete herself have a max cruise acceleration of 10 Gs, though 3 to 5 Gs is more common for military vessels. Thanks to gravity technology, acceleration isn't felt by the crew, allowing high G cruising indefinitely, meaning they will be able to command their positioning within the battle space on a strategic level, though they can still be outrun tactically by the even faster MCRN ships. The only circumvention on a strategic level is by the Galactica's jump track, which gives them an edge every 20 to 33 minutes. Being essentially a giant armored hangar with engines, the Crete carries over 1,200 fighters and support ships, of which about 900 are useful in direct combat. These 900 ships include its main fighting force of 500 APEC gunships, secondary combat force of 250 ASREV fighter gunships, and short-range defense force of 144 Warhammer Interceptors. With such a vast and mobile fleet of fighters, they'll be able to overwhelm all but the greatest defenses. The APEC gunships are fast and heavily armored, carrying 156 tons of armor, and pack a punch, carrying 1 autocannon and 20 tons of various missiles. Amassed, they can deliver a lot of ordnance and survive multiple attack waves before having to return and rearm. These ships are the backbone of the Crete's offensive firepower. Considerably lighter than the APEC, the Azrev functions as a heavy fighter, light gunship hybrid, being dedicated to delivering a wider variety of firepower in the form of a single autocannon, 16 missiles, 1 to 2 bombs, while being faster and more agile. This gives it the ability to take on enemy fighters as well as attacking larger vessels at the cost of heavier armor. One noticeable feature of the Azrev is its 3 to 4 magnetic depth charges, which can be an extremely effective defensive E-war measure. Last but not least of the fighters is the even smaller Warhammer class Interceptor, a dedicated short-range escort interceptor, making it incapable of long-range travel. Weighing just 15 tons with 30% of it dedicated to armor, this fighter is extremely fast and maneuverable, that is a match for any enemy fighter. Even with its small size, it packs a powerful punch with its single autocannon and 4 missiles of medium and short-range variety. The force of some 900 fighters and the Crete herself would be split into 3 task forces, each with a different mission directive. The main force would have the Crete in the center, with its entire wing of Warhammers and a portion of the APEC and Azrev wings augmenting the Interceptors a bit further out. Together, including all 144 Warhammers, about 150 APECs, and about 100 Azrevs, they would form a powerful defensive screen to protect the carrier, as well as a capable reserve force that is already deployed. The other 2 task forces would be similar in composition, being meant as offensive forces, meant to destroy the enemy vessels at long range. Both task forces would each have 75 Azrevs, primarily meant to defend and support the Apex. The remaining 350 Apex would be split into one force of 250, the one heading to the Galactica being the bigger and more dangerous target, and 100 heading to the Donnager being a smaller but still dangerous threat. The fight would depend entirely on the 2 offensive task forces to be able to destroy their targets before the enemy vessels have a chance to get close and destroy the carrier. Use of their superior cruising acceleration and instantaneous command and control will be key to maintain pressure on the enemy vessels. Congrats for making it through another analysis, this one covering the Crete class carrier. Thanks for watching everyone, hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe for more content, and remember, this was your first pass at the IAV Crete.